Hello dear viewer, Sonic Electronic Murdoch X here with another monthly update to my PlayStation 2 collection. In March, the COVID-19 pandemic began here in the States, which makes video game collecting complicated. On the other hand, my stack of unplayed games should be enough to keep these videos going for a few months. Plus there's online shopping, but I plan to see how the span of this pandemic pandemonium thing pans out. First up, we have Breath of Fire Dragon Quarter. For some reason, I get Breath of Fire and Fire Emblem mixed up, but besides the Fuego name, these are both turn-based strategy role-playing games. When I try out these games before adding them to my collection, they tend to get anywhere from 15 to 60 minutes of playtime out of me. RPGs tend to take several hours or more to get a feel for them. What I'm saying is that I liked what I played, but it didn't draw me in enough to play for a few hours. With a metascore of 78 and having a strategy aspect to it, I do plan on coming back to this though. I'm curious about the game mechanics. The next game added to the collection is Sniper Elite. Crawl around on your tummy disguised as a German soldier to take out the Russians. This is a game that I'd never heard of and I wasn't expecting much, but it turns out this is a AAA game that has 3 sequels. It also features online play despite being from an era that wasn't quite ready for it. It's a solid title and I spent more time with it than I thought I would. I wasn't any good at it, but I can see why this series kept going. And now Dark Angel Vampire Apocalypse, not to be confused with James Cameron's Dark Angel, which is also a PS2 game. I don't have the James Cameron one, but I do have Vampire Apocalypse, which is not the game I expected it to be. This is a sort of dungeon crawler and brawler hybrid. This is also an early release as it came out about 9 months after the PS2's debut here in the United States. Dark Angel Vampire Apocalypse is like if the Diablo games had an ugly baby with a Ninja Turtles arcade title. Does that make this game sound good? This is a controversial one for the lack of storyline and also for the 400 plus hours of gameplay required to complete it. Some people seem to love this, but many also hate it. The good news is this weird title only costs about $6, so if you're curious about it, pick it up. Without warning, here comes the next game. Without warning. It's a Capcom duck and cover FPS. Get behind some boxes, shoot the enemy, and escape from the mission that's gone all wrong. I had trouble understanding what was happening and figured it was because I didn't know much about this game, but it turns out this title is universally hated. Except for one positive review out of Finland. I didn't spend much time playing this, but I hear it just gets worse the further in you get. If you're not finished, go ahead and skip this game. Remember when Nintendo decided to name their next console Wii U, or when Microsoft named their newest system the Xbox One and we all thought to ourselves, that's a stupid name. This is how I feel about this next game's name, which is Guilty Gear X, not to be confused with Guilty Gear X2 or Guilty Gear XX/ or Guilty Gear XX Accent Core or Guilty Gear XX Accent Core Plus. Okay, besides the complicated naming system they've chosen to employ, this is a solid fighting game. It's one of the nicest looking ones out there. I'm glad two-dimensional fighting games stuck around. Next up we have True Crime Streets of LA. Christopher Walken, Gary Oldman, and Ron Perlman were all voices in this. It seems that Activision wanted to get in on that Grand Theft Auto money, but this game never got any sequels. To be fair, the developers of this title, Luxoflux, were purchased midway through development of this game, so it probably wasn't Activision's idea. This is an okay game. I'd rather play a Grand Theft Auto title, but if you've already played and beat all of those, then this one should be next on your list. Or one of the other Rockstar games on PS2 like The Warriors or Bully. And now a Sega RPG on Sony's system with Shining Tears. Everybody is allowed to have one bad budget RPG and this one is Sega's. This is around the same level as Dawn of Mana or Romancing Saga if you're familiar with either of those games. They're not awful, but they're not good either. Skip this one. I'm going to have a little bit of fun with this next one, which is the Naked Brothers Band the video game. I'm not going to play the original music because I don't want to get a copyright claim on my video, but what I will do instead is insert some 9 Inch Nails, as Trent Reznor was kind enough to release an album under a Creative Commons license. The Naked Brothers game is a disc that I only purchased because I found it in a clearance bin for $1 or $2, but I am pleased with the purchase. The music isn't bad and the game mechanics are interesting. For one, it can use the microphone, which I wouldn't have guessed, and next there are multiple instruments to play, though they use the dual stick analog controller rather than something like a Guitar Hero or Rock Band controller. The different modes of gameplay, depending on which instrument you're playing, spices things up. I had fun and I stayed on this game for a lot longer than I thought I would. On the other hand, they cut corners with the animation. If you like music games and want to try something a little bit different, give this one a shot. A for effort. Before I get to the last game, which is the most notable in the bunch, I thought I would share this gameplay capture of Shifters. I still have not brought this game back to the game store to be resurfaced or traded, and now with the pandemic I'm worried there won't be many game stores left when we're allowed to go out again. I'm sure game stores are taking a big hit right now, and I expect the value of games will plummet, but we'll see. Maybe everything bounces back pretty fast. I don't know. But for now, I'm stuck with this busted disc. And now the final game added to the collection, NBA Ballers. This game was not at all what I expected. First, there's the opening segment, which is a whole green screen thing. But none of that is important because the gameplay is loads of fun. I didn't spend enough time playing this to master the controls, but it wasn't hard to pick up. Rather than being a basketball team on a full court, this is a one-on-one game using a half court where your goal is to score as many points and as fast as possible. It's not difficult to make the shots, so the strategy is in interrupting your opponent to kill the timer or steal the ball and make your own shot. It moves fast and the game turns on a dime. This is the strength of the title. The game had me pumped up and sitting on the edge of my seat. I only grabbed this game to sort of fill out my collection, but this is why I always play the games before counting them. I would have never guessed that this was such a fun title. I have a bad habit of assuming football, basketball, and baseball games are going to be boring. Maybe I'm just defensive about video games. You know how it is when people say things like, why would you watch a video game streamer? Why don't you just play the game? My standard reply is, you watch football? I think I may have just equated jocks and sports fans as being anti-video game, and that's not the case. This is a fun game. With these 9 games added to the collection, which does not include Shifters, my count is now 716 of 1,795 PlayStation 2 games released in North America. This brings my total up to 39.9% of a complete collection. One day I'll have them all. Thank you for watching. Now I should ramble on for a bit so that my favorite person, which is you, has time to click on a few buttons. There are a few reasons why I chose to collect for the PS2. First, the games are affordable. There's not $20,000 games like the NES has. The next reason is I love the diversity on the system. We have wonderful strange games like Ribbit King, Mr. Mosquito, and Katamari Damacy. Another one of the big reasons is turn-based strategy RPGs, Disgaea, Phantom Brave, and Makai Kingdom. I love those games so much, and this style of game doesn't tend to get released here in the US very often. More than anything else, I would love to have another Makai Kingdom game. Maybe one day.